You've probably known at least one of them in your life. I've never known someone who doesn't have a story. And it's always the same. There was this girl I went to school with. She was a bit weird. Don't get me wrong, she was nice and all, but it was always horses this, horses that. I don't think she knew how to talk about anything else. I even saw her pretending to be one during lunch. You know, galloping around, whinnying at her friends. It was a lot. But I get it. I loved horses. I watched Saddle Club religiously. I even got to meet them. Little me was so excited. I collected model horses and used to play with them for hours. I had riding lessons twice a week. I even remember a time in year 5 when we were given our weekly homework sheet and it had a small section on it about horses. I'd never had more people's heads snap in my direction before. I'd also never been so excited about doing homework. I, however, can't say I ever whinnied at friends or pretended to be a horse. I instead pretended I was riding one whenever I was cantering around or jumping. I reckon if I was a kid now, I'd be one of those hobby horse girls, cantering around with a horse head on a stick, because I was that weird girl at school. I still am, really. Because once you're a horse girl, you'll always be a horse girl. I can't remember exactly what first triggered my love of horses. Neither of my parents grew up with them. My grandmother was scared of them. Maybe it was something hidden deep in my genes from my great-grandfather, who was a blacksmith, or my last name, Hesketh. Or maybe it was because, like a lot of other little girls, I simply went through a horse phase. All I know for certain is that they've always been a part of my life. I was around 5 when I first started horse riding lessons. It was in the hills of Brisbane, Australia, and on a saint of a pony, Petal. My feet hardly reached the edge of the saddle blanket and I definitely needed to shorten my reins. The bucket hat under my helmet also needed to go. But it was the start of everything to come. I'd always been a naturally active and sporty kid. I'd given gymnastics, swimming, athletics, and dancing a go, but the horse riding won out over everything in the end. I took to it as if I were born for it. It wasn't until I moved to Auckland, however, that my riding journey truly began at a place called Karaka Riding School. I ended up going out there once a week. I counted down the days until Saturday morning came and I could have my weekly riding lesson on a grumpy chestnut pony, Romeo. It definitely wasn't smooth sailing. There were some tumbles and tears, but I progressed in leaps and bounds, and within a few years, I got my first pony, Mickey. He was the most perfect first pony any little girl could have asked for. I was incredibly lucky. I adored him. There was no going back after he came into my life. A single weekend lesson became 2 lessons a week. My riding continued to progress. The height of the jumps kept on going up. My weekends filled with competitions. The fact my friends at school complained I wasn't able to go to things with them didn't faze me at all. My dedication and hard work were paying off. But with progression comes change, and you can't keep your first pony forever. So no matter how much I adored Mickey, it was time for me to take the next step. I fell off the first time I rode Candy, crashed straight into a metal jump stand and burst into tears. My instructor Alex told me to dust myself off and get back on. She always scared me a bit. She still does if I'm honest, but I owe her a lot. She pushed me when I needed to be pushed and gave me all the basics of riding that I needed to become the rider I am today. So I got back on Candy, no matter how much I wanted Mickey back. And away I went. More competitions, more ribbons, more hours of my life were dedicated to the sport. I even felt as if there was a chance I could reach my dream of becoming a professional show jumper, especially when I got my third pony, Rohan. He was an incredible jumper. I had big plans for him, but he taught me a different lesson. He injured himself in the paddock. It put an end to his jumping career. It was devastating. I don't know why it happened, but things began to take a downward trend after that. They say things come in threes, but I well and truly went past 3 strikes of bad luck. We moved again. Janie ended up with an injury and I had to give her back to her breeders. I dealt with life-changing injuries of my own, and I lost Fergus, who taught me so much. A sport that I'd dedicated my life to put me through the absolute ringer, and it got to the point where I'd had enough. I took a break. It was the first time since I could remember where I'd experienced what it was like to not have horses at the centre of my world. It felt wrong. I felt wrong. I'd developed severe social anxiety, and no longer having what I'd come to realise was the only stable thing in my life. I felt as if I was no longer me. Horses taught me a lot. They taught me about hard work, dedication, patience, empathy, persistence, disappointment, and loss. I truly believe they've made me a better person. But the biggest thing they've done for me is give me a source of unconditional love and support outside of my family. They're never judgmental. They're forgiving. They're trusting. They're always there. Being with horses transforms my ever-connecting and anxious mind to nothing but peace and quiet. It was no surprise that I went back to them. I'll never be able to thank my coach Liz enough for letting me ride her horse Babe. She helped me get back to myself. I still have the card she gave me when I left Australia. I still reread the final words she wrote. Believe in you. I do. My relationship with horse riding has changed since I was that 8-year-old horse girl who wanted nothing more than to one day become a professional show jumper. I'm 28 now. I don't talk about horses all that much, unlike what this might suggest. I have other interests I want to pursue. I haven't competed in over a decade, and I have no plans to do so right now. I'm happy to go out and simply spend time with my horse, Monsey. Because at the end of the day, there's really only one reason I got into the sport. The horse. Monsey is one of the most precious things in my life. I don't know what I'd do or who I'd be without her. She is a special piece of peace in what is otherwise a hectic and stressful world. And there's really only one person I owe it all to. The little horse girl who loved horses fiercely and never let anyone make her feel bad for it.